In Climate Watch, Tropical Storm Zeta re-strengthened into a Category 1 hurricane near the Gulf of Mexico early this morning. The monster storm is also expected to gather more strength before making landfall in Louisiana, where people are already bracing for impact later today. On the West Coast, California is also dealing with extreme and dangerous weather as it suffers through a historic wildfire season. Many new blazes were quickly contained yesterday, but the Blue Ridge and Silverado fires are still forcing evacuations in Orange County. For more on this, let's bring in CBS News meteorologist and climate specialist Jeff Berardelli. So, Jeff, what can Louisiana expect when Zeta makes landfall?
So last night this was a tropical storm, then it became a Cat 1 hurricane, and now it's on the verge of becoming a Cat 2 hurricane, and so this has been strengthening. Now, we expected it to strengthen, but it was expected by the National Hurricane Center to come on shore as a Cat 1. Now it looks like it may come on shore as a Cat 2, so let's show you the latest. Now, first of all, the good news is it's not strengthening rapidly at the moment. As you can see, though, there's a lot of pretty deep convection around the center, so it still has a window of another, let's say, 6 hours to intensify. Winds are 90 miles an hour right now. And by the way, it's moving north at 17. That's really fast for a Gulf of Mexico storm. And another thing I should mention is rapid intensification. We've never seen it this late in the season in the western Gulf of Mexico. So the winds were 65 miles an hour yesterday. If it gets to 100, which is what it's forecast to get to, that would be the definition of rapid intensification. It would be the first time this late in the season in the western Gulf that we've seen that. So here's the landfall. And by the way, because it's moving so fast, I think it may come on shore just a bit earlier. So everyone in that area should be ready for this to landfall an hour or two earlier than you might have heard, I'd say, probably happening during the late afternoon, maybe as early as 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon in southeast Louisiana as a Cat 2 storm. Hurricane warnings out for that area. But the worst of it is going to be east of New Orleans. The storm's going to move just on the eastern side of New Orleans. The western side of the storm will not have as strong winds as the eastern side of the storm, so keep that in mind. So here's a look at the storm surge, and we'll also talk about the winds as well. So as the system comes on shore, the eastern side, generally in systems is the stronger side, and that is definitely the case with this system especially. Now, because the forward motion is in that direction, and on the eastern side of the storm you have a southerly wind, you have to add the two together. So the wind gusts will be about 20 miles an hour higher on the eastern side than on the western side, and the worst wind gusts go from Grand Isle, Louisiana to Waveland to Biloxi. From New Orleans west, the wind gusts will be substantially less, I think. And because of the angle that this is coming on shore, 6 to 9 feet of storm surge along the Mississippi coast. So just be aware of that. So the storm begins to come on shore. Watch as I pop these wind gusts on. 100-mile-an-hour wind gust in Grand Island. That happens at around 5 o'clock. New Orleans over 70 miles an hour, maybe as high as, let's say, 75, 80 miles an hour there. But watch Biloxi as we head through the evening hours. Wind gusts to 94 miles an hour there, and even Mobile 78. So the wind gusts are going to be strong as this system begins to move on shore. This is going to be a formidable system. Likely a lot of power outages and 6 to 9 feet of storm surge along the Mississippi coast. That's nothing to sneeze at. That is dangerous.
Okay, so from the wind in the south to the fires in the west, what's going on now in Orange County, California? We've kind of like moved away from the coverage there, but for a while it just seemed like half the west was on fire.
Yeah, so the good news is that the winds are nowhere near as strong as they were just a couple of days ago or so. So that's the good news. The bad news is it's still going to be gusty in California. So let's go through a couple of maps. Here's the wind gust forecast. High pressure is building in from the Pacific Ocean. And whenever you have that, you have winds that kind of come in clockwise around the Great Basin. And here's the issue. When they go over the big mountain range, the Sierra Nevada, they accelerate downwards, kind of like rolling a boulder downhill. And so wherever you see the yellows, that's 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts. But on some of the highest ridges here, wind gusts to 50 miles an hour. A couple days ago, Kirkwood, California had a wind gust of 130 miles an hour. It's way up in the mountains, but it gives you an indication of just how strong these winds have been. Not only that, but you're driving dry air out of the mountains. And as it descends, as it actually is pushed down to the ground, dries out even more. So relative humidities are in the 10% range. So not only do you have wind gusts 30, 40, 50 miles an hour, but it's also very breezy as well. And, there's no good news in terms of rainfall, by the way. With high pressure kind of dominating here, it's going to stay dry across the western part of the state straight through the weekend. Any systems that try to get in can't get in because high pressure is blocking them. So it looks like it's going to be dry for the next, at least, I think, 5 to 7 days, and probably longer than that, unfortunately.
All right, Jeff, thanks for giving us a bit of a snapshot there. We could spend more time with you, but appreciate it. Thanks.
You're welcome.